Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. We are also going to animate it in a future video coming in the next couple days as well, so look out for that. If I have the animation done, I'll post it on the screen here. If not, just wait and see what that's going to be. And if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so if you want to check that out, I have it linked in the description below. But before we get started, the only thing you need to do is download the color palette. It's linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just download the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate to add it to your color palettes so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. Otherwise, no special brushes or anything. These are all standard Procreate brushes that we use. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, here is the color palette that we'll be working with today, our Sunset Skyline. So let's just go ahead and get started. We're going to create the background gradient. It's going to go from lighter to darker. So we're going to do that on the layer 1. So we'll leave the background color layer alone here. We'll be on layer 1. We will grab our first color on the first row of the color palette and drag and drop to fill in the whole background with this color. So then on this same layer, we're just going to add our different colors to create our gradient. So we'll grab our second color on the top row, grab our selection tool, set it to rectangle, and turn on color fill. And I'm just going to start outside on the bottom left, outside the canvas, draw up, cover the whole bottom part, maybe leaving a quarter of our canvas at the top there. Let that go to fill that in. Click our selection tool to turn it off and grab our next color, the third one on the top row, and same thing. We'll grab our selection tool, start outside, and cover maybe like the bottom half. Okay, selection tool off, and now we'll blur them together to get our gradient. So, wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a good ways to like 50 to 60%, somewhere in there to get a really nice gradient. And the first thing that we're going to do is make like our horizon line that our buildings will come from. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. And we're going to use the next 3 colors on the top row to make this. So let's start with the fourth one on the top row. Selection tool again with rectangle and color fill turned on. And we're going to make a rectangle all the way across, maybe like a third of the way up our canvas here. So I'm going to start outside again and just make a good, thick-ish rectangle, maybe about like so. Okay, click our selection tool to turn it off. Go to our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock so that we only draw within the shape that we've created now. So now we're going to do another gradient thing inside this rectangle. So let's grab our next color in line, fifth one on the top row, same thing, selection tool, rectangle color fill, start on the bottom, outside, drag up maybe 2/3 of the way, selection tool off, grab our next color, sixth one on the top row, selection tool. This one's slightly darker and we'll just do a little bit on the bottom. Okay, turn the selection tool off, wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag this up a good ways. Not as high as our background because that was just a bigger surface to work with. We don't want the colors to blend into nothing, but maybe like 15 to 20% somewhere in there would be good. Okay, and now that we have this base, we can go ahead and start making our buildings. So let's go ahead and go to our layer menu. Let's add a new layer. We'll go ahead and leave our layer at the top for now. We will end up moving it behind our line, but I just kind of want to be able to see the bottom of our shapes first. So that is where we will be. We are going to use all of these colors on the second row. So essentially we're going to do different shades of buildings. So we'll have some darker, some lighter. We're just going to go down the line. Each building is going to have a shadow on the left side and a highlight on the right side. So we are just going to kind of go down the line. Like our first building will start with this color on the left side, this second color on the right side, so it's a little lighter. Then our next building will start with this color on the left side and the third color on the right side. So the whole building is lighter, but we still have our darker and our lighter color, and so on. We'll just keep doing that all the way down. So let's just go ahead and start with our first color on the second row. grab our brush, which is going to be the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Our size will be set to 30%. Okay, make sure our opacity on the left here is at 100. And let's just first make like the base of our middle building here. So right in the middle, kind of right of my rectangle here, I'm just going to draw a kind of horizontal line, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Just anywhere within this rectangle is fine. Okay, then I'm going to start on the left side of my line here. I'm going to go straight up, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And we don't want to go all the way to the top. We can move these around later and stuff, but we do need room at the top for like the top of our building and then the edge of our circle. So maybe right about here is good. You don't have to worry too much about how these line up at the bottom in terms of like our lines meeting at the corners. Okay, then from here, we're just going to do the exact same angles each time. So from my left line here, I'll go up and to the right a little bit, create an angle there. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, and this is the angle we're going to use each time. So it's 3 up from horizontal. So if you're horizontal, you go up 1, 2, 3. This is the angle that we will use. This time it is important for our lines to meet up nicely. So click this edit line button at the top if you need to move it around and make sure those connect. Okay, and again, our bottom line doesn't matter as much, so just kind of make the top however you want it to look. We'll do another line here, so hold it down, angled the other direction, but same thing, we want to be 3 from vertical or horizontal. It's the same, so it's a 45-degree angle. And then they don't have to like match each other horizontally here. This one can extend like further, like this. And then we just need a vertical line to go back down to our bottom. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Again, these we do want to connect nicely. So again, we just need to connect it at the bottom there like so, and then we can fill it in. Make sure our threshold is nice and high so we don't have these big gaps here like I have. So when you go to drag and drop, if you need to, hold your pen on the screen and slide to the right to increase this threshold so that those lines go away so we get a nice solid shape. Okay, so that's our first building. You can like move it around, resize it if you need to, but I am just going to keep on going. We'll just go ahead and make the highlight now. So on this layer, on our layer menu, click on it and turn on alpha lock. Grab our next color and line, second one on the second row. And with our same brush, we're just going to make a vertical line down the middle. So right where these two meet at the top, make a vertical line. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. And we want our line to meet up at the top here to the right of like our little connecting point. So not right through the middle of it, but kind of to the right of it. So it almost cuts it in half. And then it goes all the way through to the bottom. And then we just need to fill in the right side. And this might be hard with our threshold higher, so we might have to lower it now. So drag and drop on the right side. And we only want to fill that in. So mine colored all the way to the other side. I hold on my screen and I slide to the left until I just hit that right side. So we might kind of have to mess around with that the whole time, but that's okay. So here's our first building. We are going to do something a little special with it since it is our first. I'm just going to make 2 little pointies coming off the top of it. So on this layer, on our layer menu, click on it and turn off alpha lock. With our lighter color here, the second one on the second row, same brush, I'm just going to make a little vertical line sticking out kind of on the right side towards the middle. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Then grab your darker color again, the first one on the second row, and same thing, I'll just make another one kind of on the left side here, vertical, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. So that just makes that one like a little bit more special. Now we can just keep on going. Let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer. All of our buildings are going to be on different layers. So add a new layer. Let's go ahead and grab our second color on the second row. That is what we will start with. I'll start just a little ways away from this, and then same kind of point down here. I'll probably just start with my vertical line this time. So we'll go vertical, smaller this time, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. New angle, the angle at the top, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, find that third angle, edit the line if you need to. Right side, same angle, maybe I'll do this one like shorter. A shorter line than my first one, and then straight back down, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, connect it across the bottom, and fill it in. Again, kind of hold down and increase our threshold a little bit. Okay, layer menu, click on this layer, turn on alpha lock. grab our next color in line, third one on the second row, and this is our highlight color on the right side. So again, vertical line through the middle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, edit the line at the top and move it if you need to, so it's just kind of covering that right side, and then fill in the right side. Again, don't overextend it, so drag your threshold back down if you need to. Feel free to move these around if you ever want to. I might just move mine a little closer to the other one. Layer menu, new layer. Let's go ahead and we'll do the same colors but on the left side now. So I'll start a little ways from this one, not very far, leave a pretty small gap there. Vertical line, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. We'll go this way. Go back the other way. Straight down. And connect across the bottom. And fill it in. Increase our threshold. Okay, that was the lighter color, the third one on the second row. So now we'll just make the darker side on the left side. So layer menu, click on this layer, turn on alpha lock. Grab our darker color, second one on the second row. We'll do the left side now. So vertical line through the middle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, and then edit the line at the top to move it to the left side. Fill in the left side without overfilling it. Okay. Now we'll move on, another new layer, and we'll start with our third color on the second row. And again, we'll go down a little further on the right side and we'll make maybe just a really skinny one this time, maybe like similar height, but kind of skinny. So really, really short middle lines here. Connect across the bottom, make sure they're always connected all the way, and then fill them in, close any gaps. Okay, layer menu, click on this layer, turn on alpha lock, grab our next color in line, fourth one on the second row. Right side, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, fill that in, don't overextend it. Okay, we got a good amount stacking up here. I might move this one a little closer. Okay, another new layer. Let's just go back to our third color on the second row. Same thing, we'll do kind of the same thing on the left side. Let's actually make this one, we'll move it behind this one, but let's make it kind of overlap with this one here now. So I might start just right here. I'll make it shorter. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen. Touch my finger to the screen, make sure those lined up nicely. And fill it in. Close our gaps. Okay, layer menu. Click on this layer, turn on alpha lock, grab our fourth color on the second row and do the right side. Don't overextend it. Okay, now on our layer menu, let's drag this layer down 2 layers so we're behind this one on the left side. Let's keep on going. Let's add a new layer to the top, and we'll start now with this fourth color that we're on. And we'll again maybe just go down a little bit further. I might end up moving these in somewhat, so when we do our circle, that's totally fine. So let's just go out a little teeny bit further here. Make a vertical line, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Again, always kind of getting shorter. Fill it in. Turn on alpha lock, grab our next color, fifth one on the second row, and same thing, right side. Awesome. Okay, we'll use those same colors now on the left side. So let's add a new layer. We'll go back one color on our color palette to the fourth color on the second row. And we'll go over here, and again, we'll make a pretty short one. Fill that in. Layer menu, turn on alpha lock. Next color, fifth one on the second row. Right side. Fill that in. Okay, so we have almost all the colors done. We have one more color left. We'll just make two more like in the background kind of. So we'll make them on top first and then we'll move them down. So let's add a new layer and we're going to stay on the same color now, fifth one on the second row. I might make one in between like right here, I think. So I will start here. I'll maybe make it taller even though it's in the background so we can see it nicely. So it's going to overlap with both of these for me. And fill that in. Layer menu, turn on alpha lock, grab our next color, sixth one on the second row, right side. Fill that in. Okay, then let's go to our layer menu. Let's drag it down a few layers until we're behind all of our other ones. So I might just drag it right down below, like up to my main one. So that looks like that. Okay, layer menu. Let's add a new layer at the very top. Same colors. Let's go back one. So fifth one on the second row. And let's see, for this one, I might have it go out a little further, but still taller. So maybe like right here, we'll just do a kind of tall, skinny-ish one. Fill that in. Turn on alpha lock, grab our next color, right side. Fill that in. And on our layer menu, drag it down with our other really, really light one. So it's behind the others. So these are all of our buildings. So again, I might end up moving some of mine. We'll just kind of see where our circle ends up hitting. We're going to leave them all separate so we can move them all around if we ever need to. I might want to make my middle one a little bit taller. So it's a little taller than the others. So feel free to do that if you need to resize any of them, anything like that, move them around. You can redo their layer placement on the layer menu to make them, different with each other. So whatever works there. Let's go ahead and now that that's set up, let's do our clouds in the background. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above our background layer here, our layer 1 with our gradient. Add a layer right above it. Let's click the N and set this to overlay. So we'll drag this up to overlay. Grab our last color on the second row, seventh one in line. And we are going to use our cloud brush that comes on Procreate under the elements category, the clouds brush. Let's have that set to like 20%. And I am just going to kind of go in the background here and add some clouds to the sky, just kind of vertically in vertical streaks. Like so, nothing too crazy. That's really it. Okay, now we're going to add some stuff on top of our buildings to just bring them to life a little bit more. So on the very top of our layer menu, let's add another new layer. Click the N, and again, we'll set it to overlay. We're going to use the same color that we have now, and we're going to switch our brush to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. Find that. We'll set our opacity to 100, our size to maybe 10. And I'm just going to very lightly kind of add some streaks of this just across the fronts of the buildings. It might even hit like our background, like we don't have it clipped or anything. So it might brighten up our background a little bit, but you shouldn't notice it too much. Just kind of a little bit of something like that to add a little more light to them. And then lastly, we're going to add some other streaks to them as well. So we're going to have to do that layer by layer, but we're going to use the same color, same overlay layer. So let's start with our bottom-most building. This one here, add a layer right above it, click the N and set it to overlay. Same color. We're going to switch our brush to the turpentine brush under the painting category. Find that. I have the opacity set to 100. We'll set our size pretty low to like 5%. And I am just going to go through and add some kind of vertical streaks with this to just the right side of the building, like so. Nothing crazy. That's pretty much it. Go to our layer menu. Let's click on this layer and set it to a clipping mask, so we're only drawing within that shape. And then once that's done, let's go to our layer menu and snap them together. So that's one layer here, so we're not wasting so many layers. Then we'll just keep going up the list. So our next one, I'm going to click on the layer. I'll click my arrow tool to select it just so I know which one it is. So it's this one here. Okay, new layer above it. Click the N, set it to overlay. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Same brush, same size, same color. Same thing, we're just going to add some streaks through the right side here vertically. Okay, layer menu, snap those two together. Next one, add a layer above it, set it to a clipping mask, click the N, set it to overlay. If you need to select it first, go ahead and do so, but I know it's this one over here now. Okay, nothing too crazy. Snap those together. Next layer, I'll select it. Okay, this one over here. Add a layer above it, click the N, set it to overlay, click on it, set it to a clipping mask. And same thing. Like so. Snap those together. Next layer, this one over here. Add a new layer above it, click on it, set it to a clipping mask, click the N, set it to overlay. Same thing. Okay, snap those together. Next one up is this one right next to it for me. New layer, clipping mask, overlay. Okay, layer menu, snap those together. Next one up is this one over here. New layer above it, clipping mask, overlay. Some quick streaks, snap them together. Next one is this guy here. Snap those together, and my last one I should be able to find because it's the only one who doesn't have anything yet. This one over here. And I didn't set it to overlay. Okay. Okay, once that's done, snap those together. And now we have all of our buildings, and all of our buildings are now done. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to our layer menu. We are going to group them all together. So have one selected, slide right on all the others to select them also, and then click group. Then we can click this little arrow here to minimize it. Let's first drag our little bottom layer here, the base layer, up above our buildings to cover up the bottoms of them. Like so. We don't have to be above our little overlay layer here, that can be above it still. Okay, but now we need to work on the bottom part where our water will be. So to do that, let's on our layer menu add a layer right above our cloud layer. Let's grab the second color on the last row of the color palette, and we're going to fill in this whole bottom area with this color. So selection tool on rectangle with color filter on, start outside the bottom left, and we're going to just fill in this whole bottom part, so just kind of cut it off halfway through our middle rectangle there. Okay. On the layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock, and we're going to add a little difference in colors here. Grab our first color on the last row of the color palette, our dark brown, and we are going to grab the soft brush under the airbrushing category again, still at 10%, And I'm just going to start by my rectangle here and kind of go in very, very lightly with this dark brown color, maybe kind of through the middle a little bit, kind of thicken it up right where that rectangle is, and then just kind of drag some pieces of it out a little bit further, staying kind of just in the upper half area of this section, but kind of letting it kind of fade differently throughout, kind of like this. To kind of clean it up a little bit, I'm going to go to my wand tool, Gaussian blur, and we'll blur it a little bit as well. So maybe up to like 20 to 30%, somewhere in there, so it's a little bit better. Okay, now we can make our reflections. So on our layer menu with our group of buildings here, let's slide to the left and hit duplicate on it. And now we have a second set of buildings. Okay, with our new group at the bottom here, click on it and click flatten. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask right above our water layer here. Click the N and set this layer style to multiply. And it's still behind our other layers, so we can't see it yet, but with our arrow tool now, click flip vertical, and then I'm going to zoom out here. I'm going to have it set to freeform, and I'm going to drag it straight down where it's like in line with our other ones. If you want to, you can turn on snapping in the bottom left, and that should help you kind of snap to keep them centered. But I'm just going to drag it to where like the top part, which is the bottom of my buildings, is like right underneath my rectangle here still. And then I'm going to drag this bottom part up with freeform turned on so that we can see the tops of our buildings in the reflection. Like so. Okay, on our layer menu here, click the M on this layer again to open up our options, and let's drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 70%, somewhere in there, 70 to 75 maybe. And then we are going to blur it a little bit too since it's in the water. So wand icon. This time we're going to do motion blur, so it blurs it from left to right, and we'll blur it to maybe like 10 to 15%, somewhere in there. I think I'll do 15. And then we're almost done. We're going to add a few little details to the water, and then we'll add our circle and maybe resize things if we need to and stuff. But okay, so on our layer menu, let's add a new layer right above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask also, so we're only drawing within our water rectangle. And then, but we do want to be on top of our buildings. And then click the N on this layer and again set it to overlay. Let's go back to our overlay color, which was this last one on the second row, 7th in line. And this time we'll switch our brush to the soft airbrush, not the soft brush that we were using before, but the soft airbrush down here that's a little thinner. Under the airbrushing category, opacity set to 100 and our size set to like 20%. And I am just going to very, very lightly kind of drag some quick horizontal lines through the water here of varying kind of lengths and stuff. And we're going to blur them again too, so no, they can be, don't make them too messy, but they don't have to be totally just beautiful. So maybe something like that. Then I'll do my wand icon. We'll just do Gaussian blur this time and blur them a little bit to maybe like 5%, nothing too crazy since they're pretty small. That just helps kind of blur them out a little bit, but makes it look very water-like. Once that's done, we can add our outer circle. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very, very top. Grab our last color on the top row, 7th one in line, and switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Set to whatever size is fine. I'm just going to draw a perfect circle here. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set a good size, but don't let it go outside the canvas. And then grab it with your arrow tool. And then on uniform, if you need to resize it, you can. I might make mine a little smaller. I do want to see like a good edge around it. So this is where it's like I might need to move my buildings. We'll see. And then make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left so that we can center it on our canvas. So center it where you see the 2 yellow lines pop up. And then we're going to fill in the outside of our circle. Again, hold it down so you can get a good threshold so that you don't have any gaps there. So that is it for our edge. So while my buildings kind of fit, I want them to fit a little bit better. So I'm just going to go to my layer menu. I'm going to grab my group of buildings here at the top, my big group that's still a group, arrow tool on freeform, and I might just drag them down just a smidge so I can see just a little bit more of my sky. And then same thing, I'll grab my building reflection layer, arrow tool on freeform, and drag that in just a smidge as well. And if your reflections are cut off, I don't think that's as big of a deal. But yeah, I think that turned out great. So that is it for our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. I hope that you maybe learned something new. So make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. Again, check out my Patreon if you want to get access to some exclusive tutorials over there. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching. And for the animation tutorial that will be following this one, just leave your drawing as is, and in the animation tutorial I will go over how to export our layers for the animation.